Hi, my name is Tim Petrusha. At the time of the tsunami, I was working for the Humboldt Bay Harbor Recreation and Conservation District as a bar pilot and part of the management team. Part of our responsibility, or part of my responsibility, was any type of emergency declarations or happenings was part of the response that we worked with. On the morning of the tsunami, first called out was Susie Hauser, the dockmaster, myself, and Patty Tyson, who was our administrator at the time. So we all gathered at the Harbor District office. The current executive director was David Hall, and he was out of town on business. So it was up to the three of us to kind of get this thing up and running. We'd trained for it. We had manuals in place showing us what to do in this type of scenario. So although there were challenges, we pretty much had a good guideline of what to do in case a scenario like this occurred. And so our first order of business was to evaluate the situation, see how much time we had before the event was scheduled to occur. We were in direct communications with NOAA, whose office is right there on the Harbor District. So we had really good contact with Troy Nicolini and the people over at the NOAA for helping us in this. And so we saw that it was imminent that it was going to happen. And so we started making preparations. My first job for the Harbor District at that time was a bar pilot. And so luckily for us at the time, there were no deep draft vessels in Humboldt Bay. Had there been, the first order of business for me would have been contacting the crews of the tugboat companies and so forth to prepare to get the ship underway. In the event of tsunami or possibility of a tsunami, your main goal, if you do have a deep draft vessel in the harbor, is to get it out. Safer for the ship, safer for everybody involved, and safer for the environment as well. And so luckily for us at that time, there were no ships in port, so I went to my second order of business, which was helping with the marina and the preparations for the marina. We had a list in place. We knew what to do. You know, the list got modified as we needed to modify it, you know, because everything wasn't exactly as per se on the list, but we pretty much had a general line of communication on what we were expected to do. You know, we mustered up all the other personnel from the district to help us out, the maintenance department, the maintenance director, and so forth and so on. And we had trained on this event, so we kind of knew where to go with it at the time. You know, our first order of business was to, for the administrative side, start packing documents, you know, whether this was memory drives, computers. We had a list of all the different objects that we couldn't live without, basically, in the district office. And so we started loading that type of stuff into vehicles. And that was the admin side of the job. On the maintenance side, we started walking the docks. We started making sure all the vessels were secure, making sure any type of hazmat material or anything was put away or taken away, whatever the case would be. If we saw any vessels that, you know, we were uncertain of, we started contacting the owners to make sure they came down and took care of some of the business, and so forth and so on with the dock. So that part was, again, challenging and took a lot of footwork, but you know, the docks were basically cleared and the vessels secured as well as they could be. We stationed a guard at the entrance to the marina. So traffic to the marina was completely closed off except for tenants coming to work on their boats or people that work for the Harbor District itself. In the meantime, after this, our maintenance personnel started their other half of the duties and responsibilities was saving our emergency equipment. So equipment that we would need after a tsunami or something of that nature occurred. We had a designated area up on Myrtle Avenue, which is out of the tsunami zone, to start hauling equipment to, everything from, you know, power plants to tools that we would need as necessities for repairs and cleanup, you know, a trailer with boom in it, and all sorts of emergency equipment of this nature. We did take into consideration the fireboat. You know, what would we do with the fireboat? Because that could be served not just for firefighting, but for as a water pump for the firefighters on shore if necessary. And made a decision because of the lack of personnel. We just made sure the boat was secure and ready to go rather than putting it out to sea. In a perfect scenario, you'd probably put it underway out to sea and hope for the best, you know, when things pass. So we would have it as part of the survival and rescue equipment. Again, all this equipment was the biggest concern for us, so that in the case that there was a tsunami, we would have the tools to repair and continue on as a harbor district afterwards. Again, there was a lot of things I'm sure I'm missing because that was a while ago now, but that's the beef of what I remember in trying to help out at the district on this level. Afterwards, we were getting calls from Crescent City, which was where the major damage occurred, looking for a place to tie up boats because their marina was devastated, and a big storm was coming, and so the big thing is how quick can you get your Econ tie up so you'll have a place to tie your boat up before the next storm comes in. So our dockmaster was very busy with that type of scenario as well, and we monitor the whole thing. We have film where we set a video camera up at the highest point in the office, so that we basically saw a full tide cycle that happened, and if I remember right, in less than a 30-minute period. And so we definitely saw the surge. Luckily for us, because of the location of the marina, the surge didn't do anything devastating to the marina itself. Had some damage over on some district-owned property docks and so forth, but the marina itself was pretty safe and pretty prepared for a scenario like this. I'm sure afterwards we tweaked and peaked the manuals on what to do and how to do it a little bit, making sure that we have enough vehicles and trucks to actually save the equipment that we want, move to high ground. We had a temporary office that was a mobile office that was ready for, disaster like this. And so I would say all in all, the district was well prepared for it. And who knows, if some major damage would have happened, how prepared we would have been. But I think all in all, we did a fairly good job preparing for this and being ready when it did happen.